So today we're going to be talking about editorially. So this is hopefully you're in the right session. So first of all, I'm excited to be here. I'm so glad that we're back with the summit after 5 years, back to my alma mater. So I'd like to thank our sponsors. So make sure you check them out down there. Without them, we couldn't put this summit together. Okay. All right, so a little about me first to give you some context for this presentation. My name is Jeannie Cost. I am a project manager. I've been managing web projects for a very long time. I am at Slalom. I've been working with Drupal since about 2007, so a very long time. I am based in Seattle, and I'm a regular attendee of CDUG. In fact, this presentation came out of a comment on our Slack channel, Will, so it's his fault. So we're here, so I was answering his question about using editorially and how editors might like it, and I'm like, this would make a good session. And I'm just going to say, even though I'm playing one here in this presentation, I am not an accessibility expert. There are people that specialize in this. It's very complex. I know more than when I started, but I'm not going to say that I am an expert in this field here. Okay. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about my client site. Slalom has been working with UCLA Health since 2020. They are the most comprehensive and advanced healthcare system in the world, or one of them, amongst them. So we actually we launched their site in July of 2021. So it was a conglomeration of taking about 250 separate sites on an old CMS and migrating it over to a big Drupal site. And so you can think about, there's a lot of legacy old content sitting in those old text boxes and with HTML, moving them over into the nice, beautiful new pages with components. We have over 280 editors, so we have a lot of editors. They go through a training. They have this trainer named Mitch. He trains them. Before they can get on the system, they're restricted to specific areas that they have. So you can think about somebody that is in a department. They have their department area that they can post to. And then we have about 34,000 nodes. So about 20,000 of those are page-like content that editors might be touching. 10,000 of those would be like locations and providers that are coming from different locations, so we'd have to manage any kind of content issues over there. But it's a large site, a lot of editors, and a lot of content from old systems. So I'm going to touch briefly on accessibility guidelines. Again, not an expert, but you can go here. I don't know the ins and outs of these, but the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG from W3C is the standard. So there's a link there. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these. There's 3 levels. They build on each other. So there's level A, which is the basic level. There's AA, and then there's AAA. So in order to meet AA, you have to meet A. So they build on top. ADA requirements are generally level AA. So if you're in a university, we're based on a university, health practice, and then if you're a state government, you need to be looking at ADA requirements. So you're looking at the AA. So if you go to the WCAG and you look at this, you'll be looking at all the requirements to meet A and AA. So. And you can't be sort of compliant, I've got some of them. No, to be fully compliant, you need to hit all of them. So all AA, all A. And this is going to be an ongoing process. Your content is going to be your weakest link in this case, because you have editors that are putting in content. That all needs to be accessible. There's different, A and AA that's in your content. So, I Googled some of the 10 most common accessibility problems, and so you'll see here some of these are development. So for us who work at development here, this is on us to make sure we're getting it done correctly. Things like your menu links, color contrast, that needs to be baked in from the very beginning when you're doing your design. trust me, it's a lot easier to fix it at the very beginning than it is now, where you're cleaning up, years of, content or development issues. You want to make sure it's keyboard accessible. You can tab around, and then your forms are complying too. So those are also external forms. And then on the content side, some of the biggest issues are data tables not marked up properly. I think we could argue whether you should even let editors put tables in there. My vote would be no. And then alt text for images, that is a really big one we'll talk about today. Ambiguous link text. Click here, learn more. Those are not great for screen readers. They're not very helpful. And then also like your all your PDFs and things that you're linking to, are those compliant as well? Yes, Will?
Does that mean that the PDF itself needs to be compliant, or you're not supposed to use PDFs?
Well, if you don't use them, then you don't have to worry about being compliant, right?
Okay.
But yeah, but they should be compliant too.
So there's a whole process for PDFs.
Yeah. Yes. And that's a whole other thing, right? You have to make sure you're saving them as accessible.
It's very hard.
Yes. Yeah. So it is better if you can get away without doing PDFs. I worked on a disability site years ago, and we took everything out of PDFs, which was good because it made it accessible, it made it searchable, and we put like a custom style sheet on it so you could print it, right? So that's the big thing people want to do. PDFs is they want it to look pretty and when it's printed. So, all right. I'm going to talk about some of the tools I've used. There's a lot of different tools out there, and so these are the ones that I had access to on this project. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these. Accessibility, Site Improve, Wave, and then of course Editorially. So we're going to look at them in terms of, do the editors have access? Is it an automatic check? Is it immediate? Can they get immediate feedback when they're entering their content? Is it free to use? And then does it really focus on content issues? Okay, so first one up is accessibility. We happen to have this on the UCLA Health site. There's a little button. I'm not going to really show it right now, but there's a button on the side. You can click on it and it'll adjust. It's like a little overlay. You can see a picture of it here. And it gives a lot of options for somebody with disabilities. They can change the color contrast. They can blow up the fonts. They can do a lot of different things. It's the visitor who's interacting with it. It is a paid service, so you're having an extra expense. I don't know how much it costs. It only addresses some of the issues, so you're limited to, what does this, tool do? And it becomes like a crutch to not fix the problems, because you're like, the visitor can just use this little accessible tool and then it'll be all fine. And they're actually facing some lawsuits about claims that they make sites fully compliant, because it's really not doing anything for your content. So you're thinking about, it's not going to fix an alt tag, a bad alt tag. It's not going to, fix a bad link, a learn more link. So it's not going to fix those a lot of those, AA issues. Yes?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you suggest something like this as sort of a bridging measure until you go back and do accessibility fully? Or would you stay away from something like this entirely?
Well, we've had it on there, so it is sort of a bridge for us.
Okay.
So, and again, it depends on your client and the expense. I don't know how much it costs. I think a lot of times for people that have disabilities, they have tools that they like and they use those, and so they wouldn't necessarily rely on this. So they would rely on their own tools that they like.
Thank you.
Got to be cheaper than a lawsuit.
Yeah, but it's not going to be, so it's a false, it's like, gives you false hope there. It's saying, oh yeah, you're accessible because you put this thing on here. Not really. Okay. So another one I had access to is Site Improve. So I do recommend this if your client is using this, especially for, it does SEO, accessibility, and QA. There's reports on there. They're very helpful. It also shows me like what exact WCAG issue I'm trying to solve. It has it all divided up by when you look at the report, it's like here's AA, here's A, here's AAA, here's nice to haves. So it's very helpful. It is a scanning tool, so it's automatic. I mean, it's not immediate. So, you're going to be doing your content. It's going to scan the site like once a week. When we were clearing out errors, like when we would do a deployment and we would do a fix, sometimes I would wait a week or longer to get it cleared out of the site improve the report. Again, it's another paid service. I don't know how much it costs, but it is a really great service, because a lot of people use it for SEO as well, and your tracking. It's going to be restricted to only certain users. So I think you pay by the account. I'm sure you probably do. So you only have so many admins or people that have access to it. Plus, we wouldn't want to have 280 editors getting into the reports, looking around. It'd be a little overwhelming for them. They'd have to have a training just to learn how to use this. And then it's only going to address some types of issues. It's not as heavy on the content side, but I use this a lot to help me find things that were more on the dev side. All right, another tool that you can have access to is Wave. I'm sure some of you might be familiar with this. It's a browser extension, but then editors are going to need to remember to run it. So, they do their page. Oh, yeah, now I got to go hit that thing up there. It is free to use. There's not a cost. But if you can look at this, this screenshot here, it's very confusing and overwhelming. It's showing me like everything, and there are some little filters you can kind of turn off things, but it's showing things that like they're not my things to fix, like in the menu. So I don't even understand this. I wouldn't expect an editor to understand this. Okay, so let's look at our little chart after that. So we have accessibility. Yeah, it's immediate, but it's really not going to solve anything. It's not for editors. It's not going to help you with your content issue. You have site improve. That's automatic. But really your editors aren't going to be using it. And then you have web aim. Yeah, your editors can use it. They're not going to understand it. It's free to use though. So let's talk a little bit about editorially. Okay, so editorially, we'll go out to the page in a second, but its whole premise is it checks automatically. So when you edit or create a node, once you save it, it's going to show up on the front end. So your authors don't need to go figure out a tool, go up to a dashboard. It checks render content. So it's on the page once it gets assembled. It's not on the back end when you're actually entering the content, like in Layout Builder or the edit form. It's on the front end. And it focuses exclusively on your content issues. So, and it provides some alerts and tips. And, it doesn't mix in a lot of things that they're not really supposed to fix. Okay. All right, so let's jump into here. I'm trying to put this up here so you can see the page. Okay, so, this is your basic, Drupal module page. I'm going to scroll down to here and show you like all the tests that it looks for. So it's really big on alt text, meaningful links, and then headings, and then like your embeds. So we'll go over some of these, but these are things you're not going to find with some other regular tools. So it tests a lot of different things. So, okay, let's jump into their demo really quick. Okay. All right, so the demo is right off the module page, so you can run this, without having it installed, and you can do this. Okay, so you can see down here I have a little 19, right? So when you come to the page and you're logged in, you obviously don't want to turn this on for your anonymous users, but you'll start to see errors, and you can also see like an outline of like here's your headings. You can also see like here's all your alt text issues, and it even shows you what the alt text is. Can you guys see that okay? Yeah. All right. And then what you'll do is you'll see these tags here, these little warnings. So a red one means something you need to fix. It's pretty positive. It knows this is an issue. This one is a heading tag without any text. So you can see here like you can't really see these, but this helps point out like, oh, you have an empty like somebody hit the space and then it has an empty H3 in there. And then there's other ones that it thinks are an issue. It's kind of they're not sure if it's a false positive or if it's you have to manually go check these. So here, this is a really big one, is heading level skipped. So this one went from like an H3 to an H6. So these are all going to be flagged for your editors. Okay. So then you have a couple options here. You can hide alert. So this will hide it for you going forward. And then this one here is the mark is checked out okay. We'll hide it for everybody. So you would use, I'll talk in a minute about the permissions on how to turn these on and off. So this is what happens. So this is a good demo page. It'll show you all the different ones, and we'll go over some of these in more detail. Okay. And there is a report demo in here. I'm going to show you on our test site because it's not very helpful with 2 pages. So anyway, okay. All right. Let's go to the slideshow here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to add our comparison in with Editorially, and you can see that Editorially checks all the boxes. And yeah, you knew this was coming, right? Because it's about Editorially, and but again, this is what its purpose is. It's to help you find, give it for editors can use it. It's automatic, it's immediate, it's free to use because it's part of the Drupal, modules, and it's going to be solved on content issues, and that's its focus. Okay. All right, so setup process. As I mentioned, I'm a project manager. I'm not a developer. So follow the usual instructions to install. I didn't install it, so I don't know anything about that. But usual instructions. Permissions. So I was mentioning a little bit. So you have the view permission. So we actually just rolled this out to marketing to begin with. So we did it to about 15 users on our marketing team. Made sure we got it through everything before we roll it out to our 280 plus editors. So you have permissions to do that separately. Then the mark is okay and the mark is hidden. Those are those 2 little options on there. We actually did not enable those for editors because I really don't want them marking something as okay just to get it off the page when it's not really fixed. So we wanted to leave that more towards admins and marketing. Okay. And then you're also going to want to install it and check the different areas. I think there's a way to say, I want these areas checked, or I don't want these areas checked. And because you want to keep it, you don't want them looking at the header and the footer because they're going to be like, I don't know how to fix that area down there. So yeah, get it installed, check it out, and then play with it a little bit. Okay. So what was our strategy? We rolled it out to limited audience first. We just started with marketing. And then I used Site Improve in the Editorially reports to find issues. And then if there were development issues that we needed to fix, I put those in our just regular sprint schedule, and we just would do 1 or 2 each sprint. Then I would go in and manually fix some of the content issues if there wasn't a lot of them. And then now we're rolling out the changes to help editors do the right thing. So we want to make sure. So, we're playing a little bit of catch up because, we had a lot of content kind of migrated from an old site. So we also want to make it very easy for editors to maybe not put things in the WYSIWYG editor, use components so that we know they're going to be more compliant because we're building those in on the dev side to make sure, there's the alt text, there's this. And then we're educating users. So what we would do is as I would go through and fix some of the issues, or I would see what issues were kind of big ones, we would write up a little blurb, and then Mitch, the trainer, would send it out to the users. He would update his training material, so he's starting to, educate them on what is a good alt tag, what is, useful link text, things like that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one on educating users. I mean, I find a lot of people can't use styles of Word, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then got H1, H2, H3,
Yeah.
and from accessibility, these can be really important. And what they do is they just use bold and make it bigger.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. I don't have a solution necessarily, but yeah, we're going to talk about it. Okay, and then we rolled it out to editors probably about a month ago. So we'll talk a little bit about how that went. Okay. All right. So dev issues. Site Improve was very good for this. Contently, editorially a little bit, but I found the most things on here on Site Improve. So some of the things that we had were like interactive elements not meeting minimum size nor spacing. So like we had a couple buttons at the bottom of in our footer. So of course, that's going to flag on every single page. So you have to have 24 pixels, those kind of things, so you can like be able to touch on them. Color contrast, we had some color contrast issues. We had a block quote style. People, had to put a link inside of a block quote. And then it was blue, and then if you had it on a blue background, you can't see it. So we have different colors they can change in their sections. So we changed that up. We had gray text on some captions and like our cards, and so we needed to increase that to black on white. And then all your inline frames. So if you have things like Google Calendar, you got any forms from outside systems, you have any kind of embeds, those are all going to come up because you need to make sure they have area labels and things like that. And then another really great module for like links that are not clearly identifiable. Site Improve is really good for ones that are kind of visual, and it's helpful for that. So it finds the links that, if you have, the biggest one is when you're a link in the body area, sometimes it's not very noticeable. So we added this module called Link Purpose Icons, and it is a really great module. It's complements editorially really well. It's highly configurable. It works with Font Awesome. So it basically adds a little icon automatically. So if you have an external link, it's going to automatically put the little icon there. You can personalize which one you want to use from like your Font Awesome library. This helped us get rid of links with like the double caret. That was something that was left over from like the older system where people had an external link, so they put like caret, and then when you're on a screen reader, it's going to be reading that out. So that's not helpful at all. So having this really helped as well, and then let us clean it up. You can configure it so it doesn't show up on buttons, it shows up just on links in different areas. So
does it add context, like text alternatives for the icons then?
Yes, it does some like screen reader hints on the back end, so it's a good one for accessibility as well. Highly recommend. Okay. All right. So we'll jump into the editorial report, so I can show you how I use that to start whittling down the issues. One of the things it does is shows unpublished notes, which I don't like, and maybe if you're a developer, you could look at the view and figure out how to do that, how to get them out of there, because I'm going through, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go fix this page, and it's like, oh, it's not even published, so why am I focusing on that? All right, so let's get into the report here. Let's make sure I'm still logged in. Okay. Make sure I didn't get logged out. Okay, good. All right, so this is on a test site, so the numbers are not accurate or anything like that, but it's just to give you a good idea. So it has this dashboard. Again, you can decide who gets access to this. So you have the top issues, and then you have the pages with the most issues, and then you have like recent ones, and then if you dismissed anything, they're here, so you can find out. There's a way to download your results. Okay. So I use this report here, the top issues. I would start going through, and I was like, okay, what's the biggest one we have? By far, the biggest issue that we had was this link contains both text and an image. We had over 8,000 of these. Now we're down to about 400. And the reason why is this is what it looks like. So I'm going to click on this. This one has 101 errors on it. So this is like if you had an editor look at this, they would freak out a little bit, right? I would. Because it's like, I don't know how to fix this. So this is what it's checking. And so what you have here is you have an image that has a link, and it has alt text. And then you have like a card or a text link here, so it's going to read out both of those. So it's not an ideal situation. So we have, these are what we call team member cards. So they're used well throughout the site, obviously, because we've, this one's got 101 of them. So this was something we had to fix on the development side. And then we also had articles. We have probably 7,000 articles, something like that. And they have like maybe providers and team members on the side. So the same issue we have here, it's got links on both. And then we have these, what we call article cards, at the bottom of every article, plus sprinkled throughout the site. And they all needed to be compliant as well. So this is where, you go through and you can use the tool and you can start whittling down like, oh, what do we need to fix? And then making it easier for the editors when they get to edit the page. Then they know exactly what is left. This site hasn't been fixed, so I had to go back to one of our older test environments. Okay, and then what it leaves though is then, so we can get rid of all those, and then we can start to see like, oh, there's some in the body, and they have them in here, and they may have an image and a text link here. So one of the things we're noticing here is that they're doing this in the body, in a WYSIWYG field. We want to make sure they're using a component to do this and make it easier as well. So there's different components they can use, or we'll decide we need a new component. So we use Layout Builder to make sure they can like just upload an image and then put the text on the right. This one's not coming up here, but so one of the other big issues that I was fixing manually are tables. Let's turn on the arrows here. Okay. So this one here is tables have no headers, header cells, right? So these are kind of easy to fix. So I would go in and I would put a header row in there. Some of them are not obvious. Some of them, you have a situation like this where it's, this says date, but they have no header over here on the this column, or they're using like a header, content inside of a header, so they use the header inside of a table. So those all get flagged. So then hopefully when editors are going through and creating tables or editing their tables, they're going to get a message and they'll go fix these. But when you're playing catch up, you have to kind of go look at those. I took things out of tables that didn't really need to be in tables, things like that. Okay. Another one is improper lists. So it's kind of hard to see because you get this over here, but let's go down here. But you can see like they're using maybe just numbers, space, to do lists. So it'll tag those as well. So you want to clean those up, make sure they're using the proper list, bullets or lists. It does flag things like this because, again, your screen reader is going to read that whole entire URL when it should have probably just been fit testing website, right? So it'll flag those. Now, we have a situation, and maybe a lot of you do too, if you have any medical or publications, where the publication is actually all spelled out. And those we'll want to spell out because they are publications. They could be printed, so you want to make sure these are. So those are the ones that you'll say like, oh, I'm going to mark this okay for all users, and then that'll go away for everybody. But there's a lot of those. So I'm not sure how to get rid of, maybe you just have the editors go through and on their pages and do them. But I mean, you could have a really long page with a lot of citations to publications. So haven't figured out that one yet.
Is that something where you could do something with the ARIA labels or attributes to say, yeah, this is compliant?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but then you have to, can you automate that?
Well, it looks like a dev issue if it's part of a citation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then how do you differentiate it from like this one?
Bullet and WYSIWYG field probably, right?
Yeah, it's in a WYSIWYG field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
More education.
Yeah, it's going to be an education, or then in that case, you want to make a component where you like, here, put the link in. And we have thought about that. We want to have like a news or announcements one that they could use. So, because a lot of times the news pages are all over the places when they put in their own news.
The citation component would actually be super useful.
Or like a link style that was for citation link that you could apply to that would add some markup.
Okay. And then you've got, this is the question you were talking about, using like the bold and like all caps for headers. So we haven't conquered this, but one of the issues we did find is our header 4 style was barely over a paragraph style, so it's not noticeable at all. So we're tweaking that. So we want to give the editors the right tools to do the job right. Yeah.
I was just going to say, as long as we're talking about accessibility, where did all caps become a design attribute.
Oh, it's not, and it's not. I mean, it's just people, and again, yeah, some of this might be from old site too, like they did that.
Yeah, but I see it all over the place,
I know.
right? And it's like, it's not even readable.
No, it's not. So we're working on the headers, and then this is going to be a big education thing to make sure like you're doing proper sequence. It's not always going to be possible. Sometimes pages are not just laid out that perfectly. Honestly, yeah, I don't know how we're going to conquer this one. I mean, we're going to do our best to like give them the proper headers and be able to say, you know, please use them, and then when they see these errors, they can fix them right away. So.
You got any pushback?
We'll talk about that. So, and then here's one where, you know, they're using like space and they're trying to do, you know, like, again, they have this in a WYSIWYG editor, and it's like, no, we have components to do these, you know, image with text. So let's use that instead, so you're not having to do spacing to, you know, make sure your text goes past your picture here, right? Yeah.
Do you all have the style sheet going into your editor for the editorials? So like the same style that you use for your front end here, are they seeing those exact styles in the editor, or are they just typing in white and black text and hitting save to see the result?
No, I mean, these here, they're this is like I'm going in there and I'm hitting bold and I'm hitting capital spaces.
I'm just asking because we have a big problem too where people are using like empty paragraphs to align things because in the WYSIWYG
Yes.
it looks bad.
That's what I'm saying here.
Yeah. So that's
yeah.
why we solved it by putting the front end style in the back end side of things, and now
Okay.
they don't have to do it because they get their space.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, if they use a component, because we have lots of components to do these types of things.
Piggyback off that question,
Yeah.
are you guys doing that with CKEditor 5 or CKEditor 4? Because with 4 it was no problem at
Still
all.
on 4.
With 5 you have to like,
Yeah.
you have to
We're
wrestle
working
with the
on that.
alligator.
Yeah.
Still on 4.
Then you have this types of things where they put them as a header. They use a header because they want to have a certain size font, right? They want to make it big, and so, and this is a long paragraph, right? This should not be a header, right? So again, we got to give them extra sizes of fonts. You know, we do have like kind of one of our our text component has medium, small, you know, large. Trying to give them what they need to make sure they can do it correctly. And then you've got alt text. So if you think about, you know, you have a media library with hundreds, thousands of images. You know, you have placeholders. So it could be saying placeholder image. And then you have like here, so picture of Santa Monica Medical Service Center. And so what's going to happen is it's going to say picture of, or the image is alt of an image. So you're going to repeat like picture of and image of. It's going to flag all of those. So we're going to be looking at some AI to help clean up and do better alt text on images when people upload things. It is helpful. It does write. It gives you some really good examples on alt text, so that's helpful for editors as well. It was helpful for me. So, but these are all going to be tagged as well. And then these here, all the links, is this meaningful and concise? You know, learn more, click here. You know, hopefully, click here is usually in the like a link in the body, but you know, there might be a page with learn more, learn more, learn more, learn more, and so it tags those. This is another one that's going to be a big one for us to tackle as well. Okay. Another big one that if you want to meet AA compliance is all your videos need to be captioned. And it's not good enough that it's just generated from YouTube. They have to be hand done. So if you look here, it says they must be proofread, speaker identifications must be added before they're considered an equal alternative. So hundreds and hundreds of videos on your site. I'm not sure how we're going to tackle this, honestly. So, huh?
You're going to take them off?
Well,
That's
yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, or they're gonna, I don't know, hire somebody to be going through those. I don't know. There's maybe you gotta have to prioritize which ones you're gonna tackle, and then maybe ones that were like somebody speaking in a presentation, or you know, I don't know.
What about multilingual? Does it have to be captioned in multiple languages?
I don't know. Does anybody know? Again, not an expert, but
Probably.
Probably.
But it's, one of the client sites is multilingual, so the
Yeah.
other languages are in other countries. So do I care? I don't know.
Well,
For legal
no,
reasons.
but we're also talking about people who live in this country.
Yeah.
speak another language. So
Right.
Those are the, so yeah, you have to hear
Well, the French ones I don't care about.
Well,
French French. But do EU laws that apply?
that. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a
So-
good question.
Okay. So we talked about all of those. Okay. All right. So that's how. Those are some of the things that we've already dealt with, or we're going to be dealing with now that we have the editors turned on to that. So we'll all get to the slide now about how. So we've rolled this out, and I did ask for feedback. So far, it's very helpful for header order. So this is one of the things I was hoping is that they will learn how to do this the right way, and they will fix it when they do it. So they're using it to fix headers on several pages where they accidentally skipped one. They found it was helpful but not obstructive. And it's been great for fixing bullet lists, so the ones that used a symbol or a dash and make it a more real list. And then they like the fact, too, that it gives them a little explanation, those little tooltips, which I think are helpful. And especially it's telling them more like what a screen reader would do, because most people are not familiar with what a screen reader sounds like. It's very humbling to have your site right now, if you've ever seen those demos. We just launched a Medicare Advantage site, so you're talking about being compliant there. And what I noticed with the marketing people that were putting all the pages in, they definitely paid more attention. I didn't see very many learn more links, so I saw one like download now. But I mean, it's sometimes it's like, well, that makes sense. So they're definitely using it. It's helping them. Haven't we got any pushback yet? I would guess people probably just ignore it. But we are working on that. And then, I work close with Mitch, the trainer, to make sure, do we need to give him some more tips? He's, things that he needs to put in his training, what components or things that we might do to make things easier. So we're always looking at that. Okay. All right. Any more questions? I know we've had a couple questions along the way. Wow, we're really quick here.
So
Well,
when-
no, 45 minutes.
When you generate the report, is it the entire set, or can you say only certain content types? Or?
No, the report is not that customizable, but maybe will. You could. We did, we don't have it on here, but on production we have like the content type, because that was another thing that was kind of helpful, because I'm like, I don't want to look at providers, because providers are maintained in another system. So I don't want to look at those. It would be helpful to be able to filter, right, and go through these. Also, I don't know, this site is a test site. It's like an old test site. So it doesn't get crawled. Nobody's visiting it. So what I noticed is I think people have to go to the page and then it will record, because I also had to go to the page to clear the error, like clear it out of the report. So I don't know exactly how it's working. Like Site Improve goes and scans the site, so I don't know if this is, you have to visit the page for it to be tracked on here. That's one kind of mysterious thing to me. But it's very helpful to be able to kind of navigate it down and see how many you have, and then you can hit the big hitters, and then kind of whittle it down so that the editors are not going to be looking at like, wow, I've got 101 issues on here with all these cards and I don't know what to do. It's like, well, no, that's not for you to fix. Okay, yeah, it's, and there seems to be a lot on alt text, right? There's lots of different ones, possibly redundant text, very long, there's text and images. So there's a lot of different variations on alt text. So there's a lot to wade through there.
So is there's text in the images trying to, the text, the image is the text problem?
Yeah, that was a big one for us. So depending on how you...
If you want it perfectly formatted.
Yeah, so these, so basically we had, again, I'm not a developer, but we had to basically treat this as one card. So it's not two separate, things, and it's like wrapped in some JavaScript, I believe. So but this was by far our biggest one, article cards, video cards. We use those a lot. These are used a lot throughout the site.
Yeah.
Do you know when in the stack this tool actually works? So like, does it work after all JavaScript is rendered and it gives you the output on that, or is it just on the text before JavaScript runs?
I do not know.
Okay, I got a note to look that one up. Because
Yeah.
that's, one of the things that we do to get away from the image with an anchor tag,
Yeah.
Is we force in JavaScript, right?
Yes.
So, but if this thing is doing it after that rendering, it's actually a false positive. So,
Yeah. So this is one of the pages. I'm just, my layout builder. And so then I, if I save it, it's not on the back end, and then you just save it, and then it must do all of that.
so it might be looking at a rendered source as opposed to
Yes.
the original.
If you look on here,
We had them like Control-I or Control-Shift-U. It's different.
yeah. So it says here it checks the rendered content,
Okay.
only allowing to detect issues that appear after the page is
After.
assembled. Yeah. I did see this presentation from the maintainer at GovCon last year, and so it's based out of Princeton. So he's very active on this. But it's a great tool. I do highly recommend it. Especially, I think it's a great tool for your editors to be able to get meaningful feedback to begin with and know what they need to go fix.
It's nice that it's in context,
Yes.
Like site improve's great, but it's expensive, and
Yes.
you have to kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, and your editors are not going to have that, right? So then it's on, your admin or, people. Yeah, you could give them a report. So those are things I would do as well. I'd be like, oh, hey, can you please go fix these pages because I don't know how you want me to fix them.
Yeah.
Some of them are obvious, like, if it's a table, I'm going to go in and I might, I can add a header row, that's great. But some of them, I can't necessarily make that call for UCLA Health, so I pass that over to them.
It can also be used as a good learning tool for like devs who aren't sure how to do AA compliance. They
Mhm.
build, they build their theme, turn this thing on, and like, oh, look at how bad I am at AA compliance.
Yes.
Without content, just the.
Yes. Well, and Site Improve was a little better for that. So,
How about like view pages and taxonomy pages? I mean, there's.
we do not have any. Oh, there is one on here. I don't have it up here. Just a second. So,
Because those don't have like a direct editorial
Yeah.
experience, but they create content.
so one of the problems that I also noticed is it doesn't work on Google Maps. So, I mean, it works on Google Maps, but the problem is, so this is a view page, right? So editors would not be editing this, but you can see that all of the map points
Oh.
come up, right? Image has no alt text. So I don't have any way to fix this. So
Must be after JavaScript.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually
Wave is the same, like
Right,
after
after
just
JavaScript.
post, yeah.
yeah. So you're not going to be able to solve this problem here. And I'm not going to be like marking every single point is okay for users, right? So accessibility is kind of an ongoing
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, because that would have to be done in the JavaScript that's
Yeah.
creating those points.
It's a Google thing.
Yeah. So that's a view page. So that's so generally editors aren't going to be worried about these. We don't have any taxonomy pages.
Actually, well, yeah.
So
Well, they might be able to edit the underlying text.
yeah, or like if there was some intro text here up at the top.
Or
Yeah.
the node that's getting pulled in.
No, these are all pulled in from a provider
Those aren't
directory.
triggering anything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is an old
Okay,
copy of the
cool.
site. So did you have a question?
Yeah, just quick question. If you mark OK for all, does it affect your reporting, or is that
Yes.
just like a suppressant? Oh, so you could have another false positive there. Someone's just gone through and hit a bunch of mark all.
That's
mark
why
OK.
we did not turn it on for editors.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
So you have different permissions for that.
Nice.
So you don't have to turn that on. So only admins have that, right? So yeah, because that was my concern. Is like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make that go away.
And then you got to educate your devs too, because some of us are just like, hi.
Yeah. Well, they're not the ones looking at the report.
I would think overall, getting real-time feedback, is the best,
Yes.
right? Because that's the best time to fix things.
Yes. So then you're not doing cleanup,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the idea, like when we just launched the Medicare Advantage site, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
It was pretty clean, right? So we don't have to worry about going back and like, oh, there's a table on there.
I'm trying to teach this to children all the
Clean up along the way instead, not make a big mess.
Drafts or things that aren't.
Yeah, it works on drafts.
Like, okay.
So I just published this one, but if it's in draft, it still, still shows up. So.
Explain that card doubling thing.
Oh, okay. You can ask Rick if you want to ask Rick how to fix. Yeah, this was.
But just conceptually, like you're not allowed to have two links.
Yeah.
It's the image and the title of the link are repetitive because
Yes.
they've named the alt tag of the image to the person's name.
Yes.
So if you use something like auto alter, it'll kind of get you around that because then it'll put this is a doctor in an outfit. So the image alt tag by default will be different from the title tag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see here. Yeah, all the image. So they're going to be exactly the same because people, this is coming over from another system, and they're tagged with the doctor's name, right?
yeah.
Plus, it's going to read it out twice. It's going to read it out for the image, and it's going to read it out for the title of this link. So these have to be treated like one card, one unit.
Yeah,
So it's only reading out one.
If the card is the link,
Yeah. So you.
That's what I was asking about, because we normally would wrap the whole card and make it all
Yeah.
clear
Yes.
for the link.
But yeah, we have both here.
because speaking of accessibility,
Yeah.
when you have a card with different places to hit, you want the whole card.
Yes.
Because then,
Take that whole.
But yeah, there's two elements of alt text here, so it's reading out both of them, and so
Yeah.
it's just not going to be helpful. So, and especially if they don't match, then you're like, what is that? So, but yeah.
Any other gotchas or like things that you to work around in the tool, or that it doesn't catch, or that it overly catches?
Like I said, the Google Maps,
Mhm.
so it's going to show up in the report. I'm like, oh, I can't fix that.
Mm.
I just have an issue with we're using full calendar for our events, and I noticed that it puts the view into a table, and it sort of barfs on that. It tries to do the table, and then it won't actually clear anything out, and you can't proceed down the page.
It's also a horrible table.
It is. But I mean, it's like, so that's what we're using there. I can't replicate it on here, but I mean, that error is not showing up here. But that was another thing. I mean, it's another tool for you to use, and it will help the editors. So to me, it's like, you'll need several tools to really kind of make sure your site is accessible. Building it from the beginning is much more helpful than having to do cleanup later. And again, your content is going to be your weakest link because you've got a lot of editors in there. Sometimes they get creative because they want to do something in there to make it bolder or whatever. So this is a really great tool to just help them along.
Just curious because this site is part of a huge organization.
Uh-huh.
Presumably with UX experts, but you have ADA experts you can call on to do testing.
Actually, UCLA Health did do some testing. They have a accessibility department that did testing of the site to begin with, but they're not looking at all these content issues. They might look at some pages. They're not going to look at every page on the website. Slalom, we have UX people, but they're not on the project full time forever. And again, they're content issues. So they can find them, but they're not going to find them on every page. So editorially will help you, track down like every page. And the editors, when they're in there, will get notice right away that they need to go fix something.
I guess I was just thinking in terms of your development workflow.
Yes.
Whether you're building that in.
Yes, and I think definitely with your designers, when you're designing the site, because sometimes clients will be like, we want to do this glitzy thing over here. It's like, no. We need to have color contrast. We can't use that color. We had that issue on when we built out the Sims Man site. Their colors are not very accessible. So we had to redo their logo to make it accessible. So
yeah, tables, right? Alternating rows. I imagine that can be fun.
tables in the WYSIWYG or tables by like views?
Any tables, I mean, you could, have your odd even CSS,
Yeah.
so you see your
The zebra stripe.
zebra
That's
strip.
okay.
Yeah.
You won't.
I mean, I would ban tables in WYSIWYG.
Well, a lot of accessibility guidelines want you to display tabular data.
Yes.
That will be, you'll get the opposite.
Yes.
If it's tabular data, not in a.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, but some of the tables are not really tables.
Right.
They might
Tables
they might do
layout.
it to line up some pictures,
Exactly.
and it's like
Yeah.
no. Let's
Yeah.
make sure you have a component to do that. So
Fighting with the, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always the pre-launch, they're like, but my table is showing up with lines. I'm like, because it's supposed to be a table, not.
Yeah. so and then it's just tables get kind of complicated and people don't know how to do them, and so but some of them are easy to fix. You just put you put in a header row, you're good to go. But some of them it's like
They
no.
try to merge cells.
Yeah.
There's also, I find a lot of dev teams don't have a dev to do the admin side. So when you're in the WYSIWYG and things are falling apart, no one is controlling that environment. So you kind of have to not forget about the admin side.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to make it easier for the editors to do the right thing, right? And so
Yeah.
they have the tools to do it. So, not necessarily putting a big blob in the WYSIWYG editor where you're going to have some issues with being more compliant.
That and disable the block text like right, left, justify.
Oh, yeah, we do have some of that, but we have them in components where it's like component left, component
Yeah.
right, so.
Yeah, I coach people on like writing grants. One of the first things I do is don't make your reviewer tired. Here's how you do it: is you center, you full width justify, and you don't use paragraphs. Just a wall of words.
I'm not a big fan of justified text because, the spacing gets a little
That was
wonky.
terrible. And then it's like, well, I see your point with this image where you got these 3 words,
Yeah, so.
but you can't see spaces between periods. And,
Yeah. So. We got about 5 more minutes or so. I think it's till 10:30. I should know this. I was on the committee, but so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.